most of you may be knowing this. The most important word is the awareness. So in mindfulness, it is very important for you to be aware. And the awareness is the most important word. And then the question is when to be aware, and where to be aware, and what to be aware of. So when we say when to be aware, that awareness has to be of now, the present moment. So awareness of the present moment is the first ingredient. And then the second ingredient is you will have to be aware of the present moment of the particular place that applicable to you, which we call here. So awareness of here and now is are the two ingredients for mindfulness. And the last ingredient, or the last word that we will use to explain mindfulness, is that awareness of here, awareness of now, should be not of anything else, but it should be of yourself. So if you have awareness of yourself in the present moment, in the present place, then that is called mindfulness. So let me explain a bit more. When we say awareness of the present moment or now, it is a point in time that never stay in one place. That point in time, the term now or the present moment keeps changing. Every fraction of a second, every thought moment, it keeps changing. So on the timeline, every time now becomes past and the future becomes now. So you will have to be very constantly maintain that awareness of that changing moment. And the next is here. Here means when we ask some people, when I explain this, and when we ask people what you know by here, they say here means this particular building or this particular land or this particular room. But for our purpose of mindfulness, none of those can be considered as here. Here, for our purpose, is the contact that you have with the surface you are. If you are sitting, with the surface you are sitting, or if you are standing, it is with the surface that your feet are touching the ground or the floor, whatever you are standing. And if you are lying down, whatever the contact you will have on the surface that you lie down. So the here is confined to your contacts with the Mother Earth or with the surface on which you are. If you are living in a unit, or if you are living in a high-rise building, then you will not have contact with the Mother Earth, but you will have contact with the floor. So that is here. And also it covers that contact plus the area covered with your skin. That is all here for any person, for any living being. Everything else is not here. Everything else is there. So we have reduced the area and the time to bring our attention to these two things, here and now. And then this here and now must be relating to yourself. If you say somebody else, say you are telling your kids, and if you are a kid, you are telling your parents that they are not mindful, then you are not talking about mindfulness. When someone is mindfulness, that person is always talking about himself only or herself only. We are not taking our attention to somebody else in talking about mindfulness. So therefore, mindfulness always talks about the particular person, the individual who wants to be mindful. Right. So if I go little more deeper into the person being mindful, or the person called me or person called I, we have, when we take any living being, there are three main components of any living being. The three components are the physical process, mental process, and the intercommunication between these two processes. And these three things taken together is considered I, is considered me. And it is true for any living being, right? So therefore, we will have to see that all these three components are here, are now, and you are aware of it. And this is the this is where we have the real question. When we consider our physical process, that is of course no problem. Physical process doesn't go anywhere. Physical process is always here. Physical process is always in the now. So therefore no problem with the physical process. But so far as the mental process is concerned, it goes to the every corners of the world. It goes to the every corners of the universe. It goes to the every corners of the galaxy. Right? So that is why people are talking so many things that are in outer space. That is because their physical process is wherever they are, but the mental process is wandering without any boundary. Right? So therefore, for a person to be mindful, we should try to bring that mental process as well to the present place and present time, right? In other words, to the intersection of space and time dimension is considered so far as that particular person is concerned. So when you bring yourself to that intersection, and if you are aware of it, that is mindfulness. And the word awareness is very important for the reason that here doesn't go anywhere, now doesn't go anywhere, your physical process usually doesn't go anywhere. So therefore, these three components have been there whether you like it or not throughout your existence. Therefore, the Blessed One says, mindfulness is the ruler. It has been there with us. But only thing is we have not completed it with the awareness. When you bring the awareness, what happens is that wandering mind, that daydreaming mind, that fantasizing mind, that mind that goes all over the universe and all over the galaxies and thinking about all sorts of things, will come to the body, will come to the physical process. Then all the ingredients will be together, and if you are aware of it, then you are establishing mindfulness. So I know if this doesn't happen, if you don't bring this mental process to the physical process in this manner, and if we keep these two processes far apart, then what happens is we will be functioning, but in a very, very inefficient manner. And that is one of the reasons why we have all these mental disorders and this and that the doctors and psychologists are talking about today. Right? So, being mindful, you will eliminate, you will reduce, you will try to minimize that inefficiency that is involved in our living. That's all what the mindfulness is doing, and that's all what is required to achieve Nibbana. There is no very big formula that you have got to by heart and study and then apply and then attain Nibbana. That is how sometimes when you read Tripitaka or when you listen to some Dhamma talks, that is the impression you get. But Buddha's formula is extremely simple, because this is something that should be able to be understood by any person who is not having any knowledge of anything. It is something applicable for humanity, irrespective of a religion, irrespective of a race, irrespective of a complexion, irrespective of the language you speak. You should be able to do it. Therefore, this is not belonging to any religion. This is just an exercise for all the humanity. Right. So, coming back to mindfulness. So, if this is mindfulness, then surely we are not mindful, and therefore we require a way how we can practice this, how we can be mindful. So, to be mindful, there are many ways. And when Buddha was preaching these four foundations of mindfulness discourse in that particular village in India, those people have already been using many types of techniques to be mindful. And to those people, only Buddha went and said, there is only one way. And I have seen in some books, they say not only one way, they say one and only way. There is no other way for you to achieve these things that he has mentioned. So the question is how to practice. To practice, the Blessed One says, you will have to start your practice from where you are. In other words, now is there, here is there, and your physical process is there. Then Buddha says you start with those three things. Don't worry about the mental process too much. This physical process here and now are always there. You start your practice there. In other words, Blessed One says, bring your attention to the body. So to bring the attention to the body, we are using mainly two techniques. That is not to say that you should confine yourself only to two, right? We mainly to familiarize, to make it easy, to facilitate the practice, we are using only two techniques. One technique is we try to be mindful while walking, and the other technique is we try to be mindful while sitting. Right? Other than those two techniques, you can be mindful in any other activity. Right? So I'll come to that later once I explain these two techniques. And why we use when we practice, the first practice that you should do is the mindful walking, and then only you go for mindful sitting. The reason why we take mindful walking first is because if you, with all your day's work, and if you, after finishing your work in the office and so many things at home, so many social things, and after answering your calls and emails and all that, when you come and sit down to practice mindfulness, sitting mindfulness, it is going to be very difficult, because you have come from this sensual world and straight away you have applied brakes and stopped the vehicle, and that may have some feedback, some noise. So therefore the Blessed One is recommending, or the teachers under which we practice have recommended, before applying the brake, you just put it to a lower gear and then slowly take an exit and park the car. So walking mindfulness is that slow gear. What you do there is, when you do your walking mindfulness, you should not take your evening walk or any other walk that you do to achieve some object, to achieve some objective rather. You should not use mindful walking. When you do mindful walking, you will have to mainly do it for the purpose of being mindful. And for that, you will have to select a path, a straight path and flat path, ideally on the natural floor, natural earth, maybe on grass or maybe on gravel or maybe on sand or some natural flow, natural earth would be ideal. But if you don't have that, especially when the weather is changing, you can't have those luxurious necessities. What we can simply do is we can take a straight path and a flat path, maybe in a room or maybe at home, where you can take about minimum 25, maximum 35 steps, right? So if you have such a path, you take that path. And if you don't have 25 steps, then that's fine, can't help. You will have to live with whatever you have. So once you select this path, you stand at the beginning of that path and observe the fact that you are standing first. How you observe the fact that you are standing is by taking your attention to the sole of the feet. When you take the attention to the sole of the feet, then that means you don't look down and look at your foot. You simply feel it. You feel the soles, and then you know that you are standing. Because if you are not standing, you don't feel the soles of the foot. So once you are aware that you are standing, then you hold your hands without moving it, without swinging it. You hold your hands by the side. Fold your hands and hold it in front, or fold your hands and hold it at the back. So your hands will not be swinging. And then you cast your eyes about 1.5 meters or 2 meters ahead of you. And once you do that, you may feel that you have been confined in a very small cage, and you may feel that you are very restricted. So for that purpose, since you feel that restricted, you just observe your body once again and make it as relaxed as possible, right? So once you are ready, then you start your walking. And while walking, you try to bring your attention to the lower part of the body. Trying to bring attention to the lower part of the body means mainly you try to have your attention to the sole of the feet, and then try to observe any information that you will have on the sole of the feet. And you may feel there is nothing, or this is such a simple exercise. But let me put it this way. Walking means balancing your body weight on one leg at all times. So in that process, there are so many information, so many things happening in order to ensure that you will not fall down, that you will not tip over, that you will not meet with an accident. So we have taken those things for granted, never seen what is happening in the walking. So this is an opportunity for you to get into those minute details and thereby bring your wandering mind to your lower part of the body. In other words, to your body, right? So when I say you will have to observe, let me give you a simile that the Buddha has given for observation. What Buddha says is, when you observe something, you will have to be like a security guard. He says a gatekeeper. What we usually in the present day see is security guard. The security guard, what he does is, when the guests are coming in, he does not go with them inside, but he will stay in one place. He will gather all the information that is necessary for the person who wants to get in. So it's the same thing that we will have to be. We will have to be like a security guard and gather all the information of this walking process. And mainly to start with the sole of the feet. And other than the sole of the feet, if you get any information about the walking process, absolutely no problem. But since we need a place to start, we use the sole of the feet because that has a contact with the surface you are walking on, right? So that is how you will have to be observing. Now, if I give another simile, to make it a bit more interesting, you can be like a spy or detective. What the detectives do is they don't try to catch the thief or they don't try to catch the wrongdoer. What they do is they simply and gather as much information as possible and report to the head office. Then the head office or whatever the other unit will see all these information, and if they really want to arrest this person, they will come and arrest. You are not going to arrest. So therefore, even here, what we will have to do is we will have to be a detective and follow all the things that are happening in our walking process. And another example that my teacher gives is you can be like a third umpire, in any game that we see in the TV, maybe football or maybe tennis, whatever. There is a third umpire. Third umpire means the camera. So what the camera does is it's very unbiased. It simply observes all what is happening on the pitch. That is exactly what we will have to do. We will have to keep our camera on and record whatever is going on. So in that manner, we observe the walking process and gather all the information. And when I say observe the walking process, you may feel this observation, or when you, especially a beginner, when you start observing, it is not going to be easy. It is going to be quite difficult because our mind is having a habit of moving to 1,001 places in 1 second. So therefore, you won't be able to bring your attention to the walking process and you are going to struggle with yourself. So to make it simple and make it easy, the Blessed One is giving a technique to bring your attention to the walking process. The technique is called either labeling or naming, right? So while walking, you label walking, 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 and while walking, you label it as walking, 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 and ensure that your mind stays with the lower part of the body. So since you are labeling, you have given some work to your mind. So the mind is not having an opportunity to wander about. So it will somehow or other, to certain extent, be with this walking process. Right. So when you feel that you are fairly with the walking process, you will not see things 100%, but you have an understanding. Okay, now I am with the walking process. So when you have that understanding that you are with the walking, you can get bit more closer to your walking process. How you get bit more closer to your walking process is that whole walking thing you chop into two. You cut it into two. The two things that you cut into is you start labeling now differently. You start observing your right foot, and when you move the right foot, you start labeling right, 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 and gather all the information, and until such time you place the foot. And similarly, when you move the left foot, you label it as left, 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 and gather all the information as possible. So in this manner, the entire walking process is divided into two or cut into two, and you get bit more closer to your body. Right. So when you do that, after some time, once again, rather than just one word, you have two words to use. Then your mind is not having now any opportunity to wander, and it will be directed to what you are doing and what you are saying. So you will be able to see more and more things of the right foot, or more and more things of the left foot, not only on the sole of the feet, maybe many other things as well, because so many things are happening while walking, just in the lower part of the body, not in the rest of the world, not in the area where you walk, but just in the lower part of the body. So you pick as much information as possible, so far as your walking is concerned. So when you feel that you are with the right foot and the left foot when it is moving, and then what you can do is, if you want to get bit more closer, you can divide that once again into two. For the movement of right or the left foot, there are two actions that are happening. One is lifting and the other is placing. So to get bit more closer to your body, when you lift the foot, you start labeling lifting, 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 and the placing, placing, placing. And the next, again, lifting, 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 and placing, placing, placing. So once again, your mind becomes more and more active. On one leg, you will have to see two things, and you are directing your mind to the two activities that are happening using a word. So your mind is more hooked onto the physical activity that you are doing. So both the mental process and the physical process will be more in harmony, and at least getting closer to harmony, right? So if you are interested in going further, there are so many variations to this. I can introduce one more step. You can divide, instead of two activities, you can make it three activities as well. The three activities are, you can, when you lift, you observe it as lifting, 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 and before placing, you will have to move the leg. So when you move the leg, you label it as moving, moving, and when you place it, when you lower it down, you label it as placing, placing, placing. So three words: lifting, moving, and placing. So in this manner, you get very close to your physical process, what you are doing, and the mind will be more and more close to your walking process. So when the question is now, should we do this, or we should observe it? And what I want to say is, you don't walk in such a way that you want to see these things. You walk at your normal pace. You don't change your walking pace. You walk at your normal pace, and while walking normally, you label those things as and when they happen. I have seen a lot of people, when they practice these things, especially when they move into lifting and placing, or lifting, moving, and placing, they don't walk the way that a normal human being walk. Nothing like that should happen. Your walk should be normal, and the normal walk you label and observe. But when you keep on observing for some time, it may change. If it changes, that's fine, but you don't do it purposely. So that is something that you will have to bear in mind. You don't walk to see, you see the natural walk. You observe the natural walk. You don't make it artificial to observe, right? So if you are unable to observe, is fine, but don't change your normal walk. Then it won't be. If you change it, it won't be. It won't be way of living. It becomes artificial. What Buddha teaches is a way of living. If you can't observe, then it's a different story. We can find a solution for that when we discuss. Right. And I started saying that you will have to observe the walking process, and then introduce this technique of labeling, or technique of noting, to bring your mind to the walking process. So after some time, if you feel that you are able to just observe without labeling, please do that, because that is the ideal scenario. It is not compulsory for you to keep labeling all the time. Labeling is, once again, just a tool, just a technique to bring our mind a bit more closer to the body, using our words, using verbal process, right? So therefore, if you feel that labeling is a nuisance, you can just drop it and simply observe it, and that would be the best thing to do. Right. So although I have explained here the way that you will have to observe your walking process, there will have a lot of variables affecting this, and we call them disturbances. And one of the main disturbances is the thoughts, and the other disturbances may be the visuals that you may have, or sounds that you may have, or aches and pains you may have, right? So in any of these cases, in any of these disturbances, if you are still able to observe your walking process, although there is a disturbance, you just continue to observe the walking process. Don't worry much about the disturbance. Suppose there are some thoughts going in your head, but still you can see the walking process to some extent. It's not 100%, but to some extent. So don't bother about the thoughts that are going on. Or you may see something, but when you see that, still you know that you are walking and you can observe things. So you observe your walking and don't worry about the disturbance. That's the first scenario of the disturbances that are coming. There may have an instance where the disturbance is overwhelming you. You have no way of bringing your attention to the lower part of the body, to your walking process. The thought process has overtaken you. So in that case, it's very important to remember the meaning of mindfulness. If the disturbance is overwhelming you, that disturbance has become you. If you are thinking and you can't bring your attention to the walking, or if you see something and that is so attractive that you can't take your attention from the thing that you see, or if you hear a song that you love hearing and your attention is with that song, or if you have some ache and pain, you can't take your attention to the lower part of the body, then what you will have to do is you simply accept that disturbance as it is, because that is you now. So this is a very crucial point in understanding mindfulness. A lot of people try to chase away the disturbances and shoot and bombard the disturbances and destroy the disturbances. So this is why I made it very clear at the very beginning. The meaning of mindfulness is the observation of here and now of yourself. So yourself may change to the disturbance, and you accept the disturbance. You become mindful of that. You become aware of that. So if you are thinking, you label it as thoughts occurring, or thinking. If you see something, you label it as seeing. If you hear something, you label it as hearing. If you have aches and pains, you label it as feeling. That's all. You accept it as it is and try to gather as much information as possible of that observation. And after that, once again, you bring it, after that, if your attention comes back to walking, then you go ahead with your walking in the normal manner and start observing information of the walking process. Hope I have given some insight or some understanding into how you can be mindful of the walking process. And then that's the first technique that we use to be mindful. The second technique is the sitting mindfulness, which is very popular. We know in the sitting mindfulness, the ideal micro conditions have been given in the 4 foundations of mindfulness discourse to do the sitting practice. But I would say when you do the sitting practice, you can sit in any comfortable posture. If you can't sit on the floor cross-legged with the lotus posture, that's fine. But if you can sit like that on the floor, cross-legged, lotus posture, that's really good. But if you can't do that, You can do half lotus, or you can sit in any other manner that is comfortable for you on the floor. Or if you can't sit on the floor at all, you can use a chair or cushion or whatever surface you can sit on comfortably for some time. And the most important thing is you should not lean onto anything. You should not have a backrest, right? Having a backrest is a disturbance to the development of the practice. So try avoiding backrest, and keep your spinal straight when you sit, and keep your head aligned to the spinal as well when you start. It might change after some time, doesn't matter. But when you start, you will have to ensure that you sit in this most conducive manner, keeping the spinal straight without leaning onto, without any support, and the head aligned to the spine as well. And after sitting like that, you gently shut your eyelids and place your hands on your lap, keeping the right hand on the left, and then start observing your body. When you start observing your body, when I say, it is very important. We know observation is usually done using eyes. So a lot of people, when they try to observe the body, the sitting posture or the sitting body or the upper part of the body, although their eyes are closed, they try to roll their eyes and see. That must not happen. You don't roll your eyes to see anything. You simply sit in the manner that I just mentioned, and you tell your body to tell whatever it has got to tell you. You try to feel it. Just stay and try to feel it. Right? So you may feel your bottom is touching the cushion or the floor. You may feel the clothes touching your skin. You may feel the warmth or any other sensation that you may have on your body. You may feel things that are naturally happening in the body, such as respiration. Those are the things that you may feel. So when you bring your attention, you bring the attention to the most prominent thing, right? So for some people, most prominent thing will be the sitting posture or the bottom touching the floor. So you just keep your attention there, and keeping the attention there, try to gather as much information as possible of that. For some people, maybe the clothes touching, or some people maybe the warmth of the body. So whatever, no problem. You bring your attention to that and just settle with that and just be aware of it and just gather as much information as possible of that. After some time, when you settle in with your body, then your attention might go to something which is naturally moving within the body. Which is naturally moving within the body after sometimes that you feel is our respiration. Right? So your in-breath and out-breath. So if you feel that, I'm repeating, if you feel that, if you don't feel, doesn't matter. You observe whatever you feel. But if you feel the respiration, first understand where you feel it. Whether you feel it in your tummy, or whether you feel it in your chest, or whether you feel it in the nose at the entrance of the nostril, or whether you feel it inside the nose, or whether you feel it anywhere else, no problem. I can't tell you that you must feel here. It's up to the individual. So you understand the particular place that you feel and the most prominent place for you. Have your attention there and observe your in-breath and out-breath. When in-breath is happening, gather as much information as possible of the in-breath. When out-breath is happening, gather as much information as possible of that out-breath. Mind you, this in-breath and out-breath is our life. It keeps our entire body alive. There are so many things happening inside. So you may feel what is there to observe in an in-breath and out-breath. But if you really be mindful, you get close to your breath, and if you are able to bring your attention to your body, you will see an universe inside. That is what Buddha said to Rohitasa. Don't walk in the universe. Don't. There is. You can't explore. You can't realize yourself by exploring outside. Explore inside. So this is the technique. These are the techniques to explore inside. So if you can bring your attention in that manner, then you will have some. I'm not expecting all the informations to come in the first sitting or the second sitting or in the first month or the second month or the first year, right? But you may gradually get used to it, and you may observing, picking up little by little, more and more information of the respiration. So again, in the respiration, it is very subtle thing. It is not as gross as walking. It may be difficult for someone to bring the attention. So what you do here is, again, you can use the technique of labeling. You can, when the in-breath is happening, in order to ensure that you stay with the in-breath, you can start labeling in, or breathing in, whatever word. Don't use sentences. Ideally one word, maximum two words. You label it and try to stay with that. In, out, in and out, right? So it has to happen only when it is happening. You don't say in when out breath is happening. You don't say out when in breath is happening, right? You will have to allow the in breath to take place its natural course. When it is naturally happening, you observe or you label it to ensure that your mind stays with the in breath. And you start labeling from the very outset that you feel it, and keep labeling in, out, in, out. So you will be staying with your in breath and out breath. So and get more and more close to the body. So once you feel that you are with your in breath and out breath after some time, that you can make a determination, or you can energize yourself to see not just the in breath and out breath. You can start seeing how it starts and then how it ends. In this case, you can't label. You still will have to label in if you want to label in and out, but you can be little more alert to see how the in breath starts and how the out breath expires or ends. Similarly, in breath, how the in breath starts and it passes away, how the out breath starts and it passes away. And after some time, if you see beginning and the end, then also you can see, I will see how it starts, and I will see how it grows, and then I will see how it gradually fades away, because it happens in a bell-shaped curve. When it starts, it is very slow and very feeble, and you will not see. But when it is coming to its climax, then you will be able to see, and it will peak, and then gradually, slowly fades away. So once you have your in breath and out breath in your attention, then you can gear yourself gradually to see these minute details, right? So then you will be getting more and more close to your body, and your physical and mental process will be together, and thereby you will be able to meet yourself. Otherwise, we are living paralyzed. Only 50, not 50%, only 20% of us are living, and the balance 80% around the world. So the Buddha is giving these two techniques to bring that harmony between the physical process and mental process, and thereby its intercommunication which is going to be very efficient. So these are the two main techniques. Once you practice these two techniques every day on a regular basis, not every once a month or once in 2 months, no, you will have to do every day. It is ideal if you can walk for 1 hour and sit for 1 hour in one stretch. That is the ideal scenario for a lay person. But I started with 5 minutes. When I started my practice so many years back, I started with 5 minutes. So therefore, I'm not expecting from anybody to start 1 hour straight away. You start with 5 minutes walking, 5 minutes sitting, and gradually increase it over time. And don't ever give yourself an excuse not to do it. There may have some instances which are really, really unavoidable. Then that's fine. But don't allow your mind to dictate terms to you in finding time. That is something that is happening in most of the cases. You start for 1 or 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, and then you forget it. No, you ensure that this is continuing and this is happening. In addition to these two techniques, you can be mindful in any other physical activity that you are doing. Say, for example, especially the activities that you are doing on your own alone. Suppose you are brushing. When you brush your teeth, you can observe that process. There are so many activities happening, taking toothpaste and putting it onto the in the mouth and then start brushing, and there are so many things happening, and the hands are moving, head may be moving, and you will be looking at the mirror as well. So those things are happening, and just let all these things happen. You simply observe. When you take a bath, you can observe how you feel it. When you eat, you can observe the entire eating process. No need to pray for anybody for giving the food. You know what is going to happen to the food that you eat. So you observe that process. Then you are living with the reality. You're not living with an imagination. That is the way of living. So I have given few examples. So you can select any other thing that you do on your own, especially even when you urinate and defecate. Blessed One has very explicitly mentioned, you can be mindful, right? So any physical activity, try to be mindful and have your attention. Then you will learn over time that this is something that you cannot drop out. So when you practice your mindfulness in this manner, that will never go away from you. Therefore, the Blessed One says in the discourse called Mula Sutta, we call it Kim Mulaka Sutta, mindfulness is the ruler. So we have a ruler within us, but we don't make use of it. So the Blessed One is empowering humanity with this wonderful, simple technique. But we are looking for big formulas. We are looking for high words. We are looking for so many theories. Absolutely nothing. Just be with yourself. Learn the art of not doing something. Instead, simply observe whatever is naturally happening. Keep that observation continuing over a period of time and see the change of the thing that you observe. And then, most important thing is when you start mindfulness practice, this is practical Dhamma. So when you practice, you are practicing something that you have never done before. Therefore, you need an assistant. You need someone to help you. That person is called noble friend. Blessed One has mentioned provide that discussion supportive factor for anyone who is practicing. So therefore you can practice, and those practical experiences, what you feel when you bring your attention to the body, must be discussed. Your observations must be discussed. Then only the noble friend will be able to help you to walk from where you are, which is your body, to the final liberation. May you all have that skill. And with that, I would like to bless you all with the noble triple gem and conclude my talk. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have.
Thank you very much, Venerable Dhammarakkhita, for this profound talk on mindfulness. I'm sure all of our Dhamma friends around the world benefited today. We will take up your questions now and encourage you to post your questions through the DHAMMA USA and ITT YouTube channels. Let's see. Okay, so we have a question.
How do I become mindful and guard my thought process when anger is about to arise? Yeah, this is where a lot of people try to start. They want to, people want to manage their anger. This is a mental process. Not that I'm not saying that it is not perceivable in the in physicality. It is perceivable in physicality as well, but mainly it is a mental process. So we don't try to control those things. And the question is, how do I become mindful? How you become mindful is, you can just label it. When you are angry, just label anger, anger, anger. And at the same time, see how that anger has affected your body, and keep your attention to the body as well. When you are angry, you feel so heated up and you feel very uncomfortable. So you just try to observe that uncomfortable situation in the body and label as anger, anger, anger. As a result, we will be able to take away the mental process that aggravate the anger. That is what simply labeling is doing. Labeling is not giving any space for the mind to bring any ingredients to increase the anger. Right? So therefore, just label it, and that is the direct question. But if you keep your attention to the body all the time, then rather than anger, you will feel the sensation that arises from the anger, and you will be able to observe that even without noticing whether you have anger or not.
Thank you. And I do not see any further questions. So to this end, we are going to conclude today's Dhamma sharing and look forward to providing you with more insightful Dhamma talks in the coming weeks. Let's also keep our palms together, close to our hearts, and pray by the power of all the Dana, Sila, and Bhavana activities that we all have performed during our lifetimes and during our whole course of samsara, become one united power, and may it be shared with all the celestial beings. May all the wonderful celestial beings, including respectful Brahmas and Devas, and all sentient beings receive this merit and share this merit and be well, happy, and healthy wherever they are. May all your departed ones also receive this merit and be happy, healthy, safe wherever they are. May all of us be able to live life peacefully, comfortably, and with good faith. May all of us and all sentient beings be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, the absolute peace and happiness at the end of our samsara. Thinking thus, please keep your palms together, close your eyes, and say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. See you again at the same time next week on Sunday. And take care, everyone. Thank you, Bante, for your
Blessings of the Noble Triple Gem.
bye. Bye-bye.
Sarvan Sarvan.